Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a little analysis of the recent communication session that I did. I've just got a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with regards to the evidence that I caught in it. First of all, I think the actual session itself as a whole was probably one of the best sessions that I've done. Not because of the level of responses, because I've obviously had really responsive sessions like with Anna and the K2 meter, but it's the different evidence that I caught during the session, the different tools that I used that all got responses during the session that kind of brings it together for me and makes it probably the better of the communication sessions that I've done. So kind of jumping in, we've got the EVP. I'll start with that because it was such a good EVP. Even though I only caught the one, during the 40 minutes that I was recording, I only caught the one EVP, and it was just so clear. It's "My name is Peter." I heard it first time listening to it. It's so unmistakable, and it just got clearer the more you amplified it. And not only that, but what the EVP said was then validated later by the use of the REM pod. So once I started using the REM pod as a kind of yes or no tool, make it go off once for yes, twice for no, I asked if his name was Kevin, because Kevin was a name that came through on the spirit box previously, and the REM pod didn't go off. I was like, okay. Is your name Peter? And at that point the REM pod went off just the once. It beeped once. It held it a little bit, but it just beeped once. And again, Peter was a name that came through on the spirit box in a previous session. And them two just straight up aligning in one session. I mean, they were 20 minutes apart, but even though I hadn't heard the EVP, I knew at that point that this must be Peter. Like, that the response with that REM pod was amazing. And I asked a lot of questions with the REM pod, and some of them didn't get answered. It didn't go off once or twice. It just sort of sat silently. And that kind of brings me on to my next point, is the questions that I ask. Now, in the comments of every communication session that I do, I get a lot of people saying, why don't you ever ask about God or the afterlife? And, why don't you ask this? Ask its second name, blah, blah, blah. It's not that I'm not asking those questions, because I ask a lot of questions. Like I say, this was a 40-minute session, and I cut out all the questions in which I ask, oh, does God exist? And then I sit there for a minute waiting for an answer that just doesn't come. I don't catch an EVP in that moment. So there are a lot of questions that I did ask that just don't make the video, because no one wants to sit and listen to dead air for 40 minutes while I'm hoping to get a response from something. So I cut it down to 10 minutes in which the most active points of the investigation happened. Which kind of brings me on to my next point a little bit, is that the use of the Kinect for sort of ghost hunting, and telling the difference between what is an actual spirit anomaly for me and what is just a glitch in the system, in the software itself. So I think you can tell, because I find a glitch will kind of map in a full object, and then it will try to fit that skeletal figure to that object. So sometimes you get dots here and there, and you'll see the hands stretching right out to different points that are highlighted on the depth map. And for me, they're glitches. Like, there was occasion on the first Kinect camera video that I did where the pillow lit up and you saw the skeletal form was all scrunched up into the position of the pillow. And for me, that's just a glitch. It's picked up an object that is moving at the time when you're setting the Kinect up, and it thinks it's something, it's a person, and so it tries to fit it. Whereas the videos that I've caught during the 43 videos, in the kitchen, it's not mapping an object. There are objects within it, but it's not one specific object. And you can even make out different features of the human form within the depth map. So if you were to ignore the skeletal figure entirely, you can kind of see the gaps between the legs, where the feet would be, where the head should be, even an arm. And that to me is the validation that I need, that it's not just a glitch. Like, it's picking something up, and it happens at points in which activity is happening. In the communication session, it appeared on cue. I asked it, like, I told it about this new device, and it tried to show itself, and then it happened. And not only that, but there was a slight interaction as well, which I found interesting. When I reached out, not only validated by the temperature change on my hand, but the spirit itself seemed to like lean away from me. Like, it was avoiding my touch, which that's fascinating. Like, that is a personality within what I'm capturing, and it's different to the the skeletal figure that I've caught before, the one on the sofa during my first video where I reached out and said, can you touch my hand? That one tried to do so, but then this one is actively trying to avoid me, and that shows that there is a difference there. It's not just mapping a glitch, that is a personality change. There's something unique about them skeletal figures that is happening, and that's for me is why I think it is definitely valid. That is why I will continue to use it, why it's becoming one of my favourite sort of tools, one of my favourite bits of equipment. Then if we sort of jump forward a little bit more to the REM pod itself. Now, the REM pod is something I've not really played with a great deal, mainly because that noise is annoying, and you can kind of get a similar sort of response with the K2 meter, but because I knew it would be set in a different room and I wouldn't be able to be there and watch it, I needed the REM pod to be there. It was sort of vital, so that if it went off, I would know about it and I could go and investigate. That's the reason I chose that over the K2 meter. Thinking about it, I should have probably brought the K2 meter into the kitchen as well, just to kind of validate that Kinect stuff a little bit more. But you know, hindsight's always 20/20. Lastly then, there was the footsteps that were happening during the communication. And that for me is the important point, is that I'm communicating downstairs and you're hearing footsteps upstairs on that. You can hear the floorboards going off, and even on the stairs, like while I'm communicating with Peter, you're hearing creaks on the stairs. Which kind of just makes me wonder who else was present at the time. Was my communicating giving them the energy they needed to show themselves and to make their presence known? And so it was kind of at that point that I knew I had to kind of cut it off, and I had to say, look, I'm happy for you to be here and to communicate, but only if it's for communicational purposes. I don't need you in my house just moving stuff and throwing things around, because at the end of the day, it's my stuff. It's not right to come into somebody's house and throw the things. It's just, it's not polite. And so I kind of had to say that, and I hope I didn't offend any of them by saying it, but I think fair's fair. So that's pretty much it, guys. I could go on all day about the different things that I've caught, and I don't want to bore you all to tears, so I'm going to leave the video here. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.